Okay, I'd like to call to order the Clarkston Independence District Library Board of Trustee meeting for March 22nd at 6:32 p.m. Will Julie call the roll, please?
Jan Gaffney.
Attending from Independence Township.
Dan Green.
I am here in Independence Township.
Allison McFadden Kiesling.
I'm here in Independence Township.
And Nancy Moon.
Here, Village of Clarkston.
And Marilyn Pomeroy.
Here, Independence Township.
And Ann Rose.
Here, and I'm in Clarkston Village.
And Chris Shull.
Here, Independence Township.
And Julie
Excellent.
Meredith. I am here in Independence Township.
I'll accept a motion to approve the agenda.
So move.
I'll second.
Okay, Dan has approved. Jan has seconded. Any questions? If not, all those in favor, please say aye when your name is called.
Dan Gaffney.
Yes.
Dan Green.
Yes.
Allison McFadden Kiesling.
Yes.
Nancy Moon.
Yes.
Marilyn Pomeroy.
Yes.
And Ann Rose.
Yes.
And Chris Shull.
Yes.
Almost forgot Chris.
Okay, motion is approved. We'll have our call to the public. Pretty sure I saw Laura.
But she needs to
Yes, she's muted.
I
Yeah,
think
she
she's
needs-
trying to unmute.
Oh, okay.
Can you unmute on the left-hand side down at the bottom, Laura? There you go.
Oh, am I okay now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So the Friends of the Library still have their reading market as an online book sale. And from December 1st to March 11th, we sold 443 books. We took in $816 in book sales and $125 in donations. And right now we are planning one June 5th outdoor sale. We really have not worked out all the details, but we feel that that is going to happen on June 5th. And our general membership meeting will be April 15th on Zoom. And that's it.
That's very concise. Anybody have any questions?
Well, just a comment. It sounds like that reading market took off kind of nicely.
You've done.
I mean, it's not a huge amount of sales, but it's
Yeah.
pretty decent for something that just started out.
I think that Joanne Broda is one of the people, and Julie Myers, they've really done a great job with that.
Yeah. Boy, you're not kidding.
Well, it's very steady income, so that's good.
Right.
I think during this COVID era, I think we should, that the Friends should emphasize donations. I think you've been underplaying that, because that's how I've been supporting Friends, is just through donations.
You mean money donations, right?
Yes, money
Yeah.
donations.
I thought we had done fairly well with that on the reading market, but I agree that's a good thing to do.
Thanks, Laura.
I think they've been receiving some through the membership. When people renew their membership, I think they've been adding donations, and that the number that Laura just gave, I think, doesn't account for the membership donations that are coming.
Oh,
in.
that was just reading market.
Yeah, just through the reading market.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody else have a question or comment?
I think that's really done very well over the time
Oh,
that
yeah.
has been open. Yeah, it's been amazing. So
I love it.
Congratulations.
Yeah, I love it. Keep it up. I'm a big
Yeah.
supporter. My
Well,
kids.
it's just really nice to the creativity to come up with a new solution,
Mhm.
because book sales has always been by far the biggest moneymaker for the Friends, and to have looked at the possibilities and apparently gotten the word out kind of nicely, because that's, given the prices of the used books, that's pretty good book sales.
Mhm. I have people come and tell me about it. They're coming over to the library to pick up the book they just ordered or something like that, you know. It's really getting around.
That's
Doing
good.
well. Uh-huh.
Excellent. Let them know that we really appreciate all of those efforts.
We'll do
Well-
that. Do that.
Are there any other public comments today? If not, we will close the call to the public. I'll accept a motion to accept the consent agenda, which has 8 items on it this time.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Okay, Jan has made the motion. Who seconded? Allison?
Nancy.
I think,
Nancy.
Nancy.
Nancy, thank you. Want to make sure that our secretary has a chance to get that, our administrative assistant. Does anyone want to question any of the 8 items? If not, let's call the roll and see if everyone approves.
Dan Gaffney,
yes.
Dan Green,
Yes,
Allison McFadden Kiesling,
Yes.
Nancy Moon,
Yes.
Marilyn Pomeroy,
Yes.
Ann Rose,
Yes.
Chris Schell.
Yes.
Okay, motion is approved. Library statistics.
We don't have a statistics compilation this evening due to some technical difficulties with my trying to get all of the children's stuff gathered together. So
It does appear that our entrances are growing, aren't they?
yes,
People are
Yeah,
coming
okay.
in.
yep. And we are getting good turnout at our virtual programming. And we've had a lot of growth in a number of our programs. For example, Elena pointed out that her teen creator cafe is what she's calling it. She's had to keep increasing the number of people that can be accommodated by that program. It started out, she was doing 15, then she was doing 25, then she was doing 30. So that keeps growing. So
Good.
he's very excited about that. That one she has to keep a little bit small because she has to create the kits for them to come and pick up. So there's a limit to how big that can grow. But she just keeps trying to increase it as much as she can in terms of the production of creating those programs. So very, very popular. I'll bring some pictures of some of the really cool things that they've been making for
Oh,
next
good.
month.
Yeah, good.
Good. Okay, so we'll see how statistics look next month. How about the library director's report?
Okay. So in terms of general update, in January, the board approved the posting of the full-time community relations volunteer coordinator and the full-time head of children's and teen services in an effort to allow for a thorough selection process and still facilitate the timely appointment of these 2 positions. The March 8th library board meeting was postponed to March 22nd, and I just wanted to put that in my report to make sure that was in the record as to why we did that. Next item, in February, the new Community Information Network website, now known as the Clarkston Historic District website, went live. I presented the new site to Clarkston Historic District Commission and to Clarkston City Council. We will continue the rollout with a presentation at the Friends membership meeting. We're also beginning a collaboration with Clarkston schools to develop the youth pages on the site to be more engaging and to accommodate the local history projects of our students that they'll be working on in the upcoming months. The timing of this project will be a great opportunity for the new head of children's and teen services to get to know some of the teachers and the IT staff at the school district, since we're just starting that particular project. Next item, the library's audit of the 2020 books will once again be conducted by Gaybridge and Company. This is year 3 of a 3-year contract with this auditor. The gathering of the documentation has already begun and the field work is set to begin on April 26th. Next item, recently there has been an update of the uniform chart of accounts, which is part of the guidelines set at the state level to standardize the accounting practices of governmental entities. These new requirements are set to take effect for organizations with a January to December fiscal year on January 1st of 2022. Fortunately, the chart of accounts we've been using was in compliance with the previous guidelines, so it looks like there will just be a handful of changes that we will need to implement. This means that as we work on the library's 2022 budget, we will have some line items with new numbers. We will wait until after the 2020 audit to work on updating the library's chart of accounts so the auditor can assist in making sure we're interpreting the changes correctly. This will involve creating a crosswalk chart that will list all of the current budget line item numbers, followed by a budget line item number. Each will become beginning January 1 of 2022. Many will stay the same, so we will highlight the ones that will change to make them easier to spot and help facilitate that transition. Great. I've been doing
I
this
have
for
a quick
15 years
que-
now. I'm just going to randomly change the numbers on you.
Yeah, well, guys, that's kind of, I was thinking maybe they were adding more detail, but they're not. They're just changing this.
Nope. Nope.
Alrighty then, that makes no sense. Adding more detail could make sense where you have a kind of a broad category and you want to have some sub categories, but just changing random numbers makes no sense to me.
Well, one of the examples, I don't know if it makes sense or not, but it's a different way, a different philosophical way of thinking of it. So one of the things that they're doing is that libraries, library materials like library books and the actual collection used to be in a number that was with capital improvements and things like that. And they've now decided that technically books aren't capital improvements. They're
No,
not.
they're really not.
No. So those numbers will now be moved into, I think they're moving them to supplies, which also doesn't make sense to me, but I'm not sure
No,
there's a better.
there should be
place to
something
put
kind of
them.
in between
Yeah.
supplies. I mean, they are an asset, but
Yeah.
they are not a capital asset because they don't, collectively, there's enough value to make them a capital asset, but you don't purchase them collectively. You purchase them
No.
book by book by book by
One
book.
book at a
So
time.
yeah.
I know.
Okay.
It's a thing.
that's all. I
don't
was
know.
just curious to see if they were adding more detail, but oh well.
Well, in some areas they are, but most of the areas where they're adding detail are not areas that affect us because we're such a small entity.
Right, well, but and I mean, I've noticed through the years that we're using way fewer numbers than, say, for example, the city of Pontiac used when I worked for them. You know, they used a
Right.
lot more numbers because they needed a lot more categories, but
Right.
okay, just was curious.
We'll see how it goes.
There are a lot of
Sure, we'll
library
find
directors.
this.
There were a lot of library directors in that meeting thinking, why are we doing this again? Just cause.
The people that set up the chart of accounts at the state level need job security, so they have to come in and make some changes every once in a while, or.
Well, from the library perspective, it felt a little bit like changing the Dewey Decimal System, and you just don't do that.
Well, we'll be interested to hear the rationale.
Exactly. Okay. Where did we leave off? At the October meeting, the board approved the funding of the InReach, a project to integrate our Polaris ILS with the Melcat ILS in order to streamline our interlibrary loan process. Due to circumstances that were out of our control, COVID related, of course, the project took longer to get underway than we anticipated, but the implementation process, which began in February, has been going very smoothly. The setup for this integration has taken place and staff directly involved with ILL were trained on Friday. There will be a training for the rest of the staff in the next week or so, and we are scheduled for a soft launch of this new system on April 6th. This will streamline the workflow for staff, and the change will be seamless for the patrons. Because the two systems will communicate directly, essentially what this means is that account updates, requests, checkouts, and material transit information will update instantaneously. So instead of you put interlibrary loaning a book and then waiting to find out if it's in transit and all of that, every time something changes, it will immediately show up in your account and it will be much easier for you to track. So the patrons are going to love it, but there are some things behind the scenes that the staff had to learn to do. So, and once those are all implemented, it'll be much easier and the workflow will be faster. Next item, usually this time of year, we welcome spring by discussing the library's lawn mowing contract and posting an RFP. However, last year when the board selected the contract, he offered a 2-year contract that would hold prices at the same rate for the 2021 season. So the board has accepted that 2-year contract and the service is already in place for this year. So no RFP tonight.
Yeah.
Yay. It's the little things, right? Okay. And then in terms of collaborations, each year the library is part of the committee that plans the Clarkston Community Awards celebration. In 2020, the usual breakfast that takes place in May had to be canceled, but the winners were recognized in a video that was shared online. This year, the event will be virtual and will take place on Thursday, May 13th at 7 p.m. In its 36th year, this annual celebration recognizes the people and organizations that make Clarkston a great place to live, play, and do business. The planning committee is hopeful for a return to the traditional breakfast celebration in 2022. And then last, the library will once again be participating in the Clarkston Area Youth Assistance Program Pinwheels for Prevention. This project places gardens of blue pinwheels throughout the community during the month of April to raise awareness about the importance of the well-being of our youth. The blue pinwheel is intended to remind us to help youth feel safe, hopeful, and welcomed throughout the community. Despite certain limitations caused by the pandemic, we anticipate a record number of pinwheel gardens blooming around town. If you would like to, like a garden of blue pinwheels to plant in your own yard, you can purchase one through the Clarkston Area Youth Assistance website at www.caya-mi.org. Options include a 30 pinwheel garden, a 10 pinwheel bouquet, or a 7 pinwheel vase. Your pinwheel order should be ready the last week of March and can be picked up at the library in the lobby or through curbside pickup.
Oh, good.
That's part of our contribution is to be the curbside pickup.
All the clerks will be delighted.
They're so used to bags of stuff out there. I'm not sure if they'll even notice.
Any comments or questions? It's been a busy month.
It has been.
If not, let us move to regular business, the fun
All right.
part.
The fun parts. Let's get to the fun parts. Okay, at the January 11th meeting, the library board approved the posting of the full-time community relations volunteer coordinator position. The selection committee consisted of Marilyn Pomeroy, Trevor Wynn, and Julie Meredith. We received 32 submissions and interviewed 4 candidates. The committee conducted a second interview with the leading candidate and reviewed the comments of her references. Andrea Sissy Phillips has a communications degree with a creative writing minor from Siena Heights University. She's been working in the nonprofit field, most recently for North Star Reach, a camp for children with serious health challenges and their families. In this position, she demonstrated her skills in design, digital media, and communications. Her energy and enthusiasm were paired with careful coordination in her first large fundraising event that included all of the details of volunteers, caterers, and staff, resulting in a successful gala that surpassed the previous 8 years. During her second interview process, she had a chance to talk to staff and volunteers who were impressed with her knowledge and ideas for the role she would fill here. The selection committee recommends Sissy Phillips to be the CIDL's new community relations volunteer coordinator. Based on the wages of other staff and Sissy's education and experience, we recommend a salary of $47,500. This is a budgeted position and the recommended wage can be accommodated by the current budget. A small budget adjustment for benefits may be required later in the year, dependent upon the insurance needs of this candidate if they are significantly different from the previous employee in this position. But that budget includes a cushion to accommodate some unanticipated change in coverage. And so I don't anticipate that we're going to have a problem, but I always like to wait until later in the year to make that decision.
Adjustment. So just
We do have
we
Chrissy
had
online if you'd like to say hi.
many candidates, especially during COVID. People are now beginning to want to move around. And so we were pleased with the quality of the candidates
Great.
and with the interview process and are delighted to recommend Sissy.
Very good. Very nice. Nice to see you, Sissy.
I'm very excited, should this be approved, to start and continue making an impact in your community. So thank you for the opportunity.
Okay.
Yeah, we're looking forward to.
Yes, we are.
At this
And
time,
I would like to move that we hire Sissy at the salary of $47,500 with the benefit package. Date of hire, April 19th.
I second.
I think Dan was first to second.
Both enthusiastic.
Motion, Dan got in there quick.
I don't know, Allison and I kind of hit the finish line at the same time.
Are there any other questions or comments?
Just welcome aboard.
Right, so
Yes.
let's call the roll.
Dan Gaffney,
Yes.
Dan Green,
Yes,
Allison McFadden Kiesling,
Yes.
Nancy Moon,
Yes.
Marilyn Pomeroy,
Yes.
Ann Rose,
Yes.
and Chris Schell.
Yes.
Motion is approved. We welcome Sissy. We're so glad you will be joining us. We're looking forward to it.
Yes. Very much.
Love it
She
when
made
things.
she made a good impression. She had a chance to talk to Julie Sislowitz from the Friends, and she made a good impression on the Friends as well. So
Good.
Good.
So
Because they'll be working, I'm sure, quite closely together.
yep.
So that will work out well. And she also had quite a chance to talk with Trevor, with whom she would also be working,
Yeah.
which is part of the reason he was on the selection committee. And
Oh,
everything went well.
very good.
All right, let's
Do
move
you have
to,
any questions, Sissy, or does anyone have any questions for Sissy since she popped in to say hi?
Yeah, just nice to meet you.
and welcome.
And someday we'll probably get to meet you in person.
Yes,
That'd be
yes, yes.
Definitely welcome the opportunity.
So we're so glad you could join us tonight.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Is it okay if I hop off after this?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us. We really appreciate you being
Yes.
here. It's nice that everybody get to see your smiling face and to say hi.
Yes, yes.
All right,
Thanks,
well,
Sissy.
thank you, and I hope that you all were able to enjoy some sunshine at least today or sometime this week. And again, I really appreciate it. I'm really looking forward to starting April 19th. So thank you again.
Very
We'll
good.
see you soon.
Bye.
Sissy.
Thank you, Sissy.
Bye. Okay. So we were very pleased, and it's been part of our process recently to make sure that members of the departments that will be involved with the person that we're considering also have a chance to meet the candidate. And that the candidate has a chance to meet us.
Well, yes.
That's the process. Well, let's move to number 2.
All right. At the January 11th meeting, the library board approved the posting of the full-time head of Children's and Teen Services position. The selection committee consisted of Marilyn Pomeroy, Elena Jones, and Julie Meredith. We received 16 submissions and interviewed 3 candidates. A clear front runner was identified, and that candidate was invited to a socially distanced meet and greet with the youth department staff and one of the department heads. Amanda Carr earned her MLIS degree in 2007. She was a part-time children's librarian at our library for a little over a year before moving on to a full-time position out of state. Staff members who were here at that time remember her as enthusiastic, creative, and hardworking. Since then, she has been the director of a small library, gaining a wealth of library experience, including the passing of a tax levy renewal. A life change moved her to Illinois, where she became a youth services coordinator, handling programming, scheduling, and outreach for young patrons. In an effort to expand her experiences, she became an adult services collection development librarian. This position expanded her expertise in collection management, but she also realized that she is better suited to a creative, energetic youth department. Our position provides her the opportunity to return to serving young people and to relocate back to Michigan near her family. The selection committee and the staff involved in the second interview process were impressed with her organizational skills, openness, interest in teamwork, and collaborative projects and positivity. The selection committee recommends Amanda to CIDL's new head of Children's and Teen Services. Based on the wages of other staff and Amanda's education and experience, we recommend a salary of $59,500. This is a budgeted position, and the recommended wage can be accommodated by the current budget. A small budget adjustment for benefits may be required later in the year, dependent upon insurance needs of this candidate if they're significantly different from the previous employee in this position. But that budget includes a cushion to accommodate some unanticipated change in coverage. And this is another one I don't know that we're going to see any issue there, but if we do, just be forewarned that we would have to make a little bit of shuffling of some funds if needed. Any questions?
I see she coordinated the 5-year renewal of operational levy.
We
Hello.
thought that, hi, and she's here.
Sorry, we were driving back from an appointment. I didn't want to make anybody car sick with watching me bounce in the car. So that's why I was keeping the camera off, but I've been here, yeah.
Oh, nice to meet you, Amanda.
Nice to meet you guys too.
Now, is it Amanda or Amanda?
It's Amanda, but I prefer Amanda. I will not answer to Mandy. That's the only thing I said.
Okay.
So yeah,
That's good to know,
not even
Mandy.
my mother's
That's
allowed
good
to
to
call me
know.
that anymore.
Okay.
That's very important.
Yes.
We'll make a note of it.
Okay.
You have anybody have questions before we make a recommendation?
Oh, wow.
Well, let us, at this time, let's make a motion to accept Amanda as our full-time head of children.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Okay, the motion's made by Jan, second by Nancy.
Thank you.
Anybody have questions at the moment? If not, let's call the roll.
Dan Gaffney,
Yes.
Dan Green,
Yes.
Allison McFadden Keesling,
Yes.
Nancy Moon,
Yes.
Marilyn Pomeroy,
Yes.
Ann Rose,
Yeah, yes.
and Krista.
Yes.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you, Amanda.
Thank you very much. I'm excited for the opportunity. As I told Julie, I really enjoyed my time there before in the community and the staff, and it speaks very well to the library's culture that there are so many staff members still there. So I'm super excited. So
Okay, that's great.
Welcome
thank you very
aboard.
much. Thank you. And
Yes.
I'm gonna actually sign out. I'm still working remotely. So thank you so much for letting me pop in tonight.
Oh, thank you.
Bye-bye.
I hope to see you all soon. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Bye, Amanda.
Wow, couple of very qualified people.
Yes.
We had
Sounds
great
super.
candidates for these
Oh, good.
positions.
So we were pleased with the process and the candidates' answers, and there were lots of questions.
Oh, okay.
And the candidates had questions for us,
Good.
because it's really a two-way interview
Sure.
to see if we're a good fit for them.
Well, that's the best kind, because otherwise people come and then discover that, oh, they don't like this place at all.
Yeah. Or whatever. Mhm.
And then you're back to the drawing board again before you know it.
Right.
So we were pleased with the process.
Mhm.
It does seem long when you're reading all those applications, right, Dan?
Oh,
Yes.
oh, good job, you guys. Very good job.
Thank you.
Yes.
Dan knows, he's been through that. Okay, so the motion has passed. So we are ready to accept our two new candidates on the same day, which will make it a little easier for Julie to welcome them and give them their key.
We'll do some
information.
simultaneous touring. That'll help
Oh,
speed up the process a little bit.
Good idea. Good idea.
How about our monthly COVID update?
Okay. So we are in phase 5. The services that we are currently doing in phase 5 include, we're still doing curbside pickup. We do allow browsing of the collection. Our occupancy limit is 25 in the main part of the building for the public. Public computers are available. We have keyboard and mouse covers for those, and the stations are sanitized after each use. We have printer, copier, fax, and scanner. We do also have notary service. Our programs are still virtual, but we do have the take and make bags for many of our programs. So that includes all of our children's programs, our teen programs, and a number of our adult programs now have take and make bags that are included that can be picked up either in the lobby or via curbside. We've done a significant amount of expansion on our e-collections. Brad has been working on that. We still have online library card registration, so people who would like to get a library card can do so online. As you know, the fines have been waived through June 30th of 2021. We are still doing materials quarantine of 5 days. A number of libraries are starting to look at that quarantine period, and now that we know more about COVID and we know that that's not how it's transmitted, are starting to reduce that number down to 3 days is becoming more common. So Chris and I are going to start looking into that and deciding if, based on the kinds of materials that we are bringing back in, if that 5-day quarantine is still really necessary, if we can speed up the turnover of materials a little bit by reducing that quarantine time. And then we started something new on March 16th. We moved the computers that were in the meeting room back into the main part of the building. They are very carefully socially distanced. And now we are offering study space in our meeting room. The occupancy limit in there is no more than 16. There are 8 socially distanced tables that can be reserved. We're doing quiet study on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. and then 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. And then Saturday and Sunday, we're doing that from 2 to 5. You can reserve a table in advance, up to a week in advance. And then after that chunk of time is over, we clear out the room and the custodial staff goes in and sanitizes the whole space. The other thing that you are allowed to do is when you reserve that space, you are allowed to bring one other person that you would like to study with. So if you have a tutor that you are as part of your bubble, you can do that, or you can, mom can come in and study with a child or whatever. But if you're looking for that space, you can do that. And then registering for those tables is not required if there is a space open and somebody comes and not all the tables are taken, then somebody can do a walk-in. So that is possible as well. Any questions about any of that?
So it's just 2 people per table?
No more than 2 people per table, yes. And basically what we've done is the same thing we did with the computers. There's only 2 tables per wall, and then we left the middle of the room open, so there's plenty of distance between everyone. So you can walk in and there's a lot of space. And then we do have a table in there with a plexiglass shield that we're using to do notary, so that we have a protected way to do notary with 2 people. So they can sit across from each other with a shield in between.
So the 25 people who are allowed in the general spaces in the library are browsing, they're not sitting.
No, the people can sit at the computers, but they're in a different, so we kind of tried to keep the computers away from where people are browsing, and we've tried to sort of maximize the space that we're using. So in some cases, libraries are given an occupancy for the entire building. Our fire marshal didn't do it that way. He did it based on enclosed spaces. So he did the main part of the building and gave us a total occupancy for that space, which is actually, I believe 96, and we're allowed to do up to 50% occupancy, and we're not doing anywhere close to that because we don't think, based on the way the furniture is laid out and whatever, that that's really feasible. So we're keeping it at 25. Of course, we have to still count the staff space as well. So that's part of the reason we're keeping it low. No more than 25 public. So that allows for staff that might need to be out there, plenty of room for that number as well. And still we would be nowhere near 45. So we're keeping that way down. And then the meeting room, we base that on every person who's in the room needs at least a 6-foot bubble. And we kept that number much lower than what we felt could really be within that 6-foot bubble, because we didn't want it to feel too crowded in there.
I can't talk.
So.
We're moving.
Any questions about that?
Any comments or questions about?
No, as always, great job. Way to think things through, and try to provide as many services as possible and still keep everyone safe, staff and the public. So
a couple of other things in terms of the COVID update. Just a reminder of what the basic guidelines are for staff. We have 7 key points that everybody is supposed to remember. Number 1, stay home if you're sick. Number 2, wear your face mask. Number 3, wash your hands frequently. Number 4, don't touch your face. Number 5, maintain 6 feet of social distance. Number 6, clean frequently, touch surfaces often. And number 7, be kind to one another. So those are the things that we just want everybody to remember. Those are the key points that we've been following since the beginning, and they have served us well. We've been, our staff has been really good that if they think they've been exposed, they've been quarantined. We've actually, since the beginning, only had 2 people on staff who have tested positive. One of them hadn't been in the building, and the other one was only here for a short period of time, but was near no one else, and nobody else got sick from it. So we know our protocols are working. So that's been a positive thing to say. We also updated. What's that?
I said you brought us through a lot in the last year. Very well, I think.
Yes.
It's been a bumpy year.
It's been
that's putting it mildly.
unforgettable.
We also have clear and simple signage for the public. We updated this the last time we reopened. There's a big sign out in front. I don't know if you've seen it. It's a big A-frame and it says, "We want to be open to serve you. We must keep everyone safe. Please wear a properly fitted mask, stay 6 feet apart, sanitize your hands, and if you are unable to wear a mask, please use curbside pickup." So our message is clear of what we need everybody to do in order for us to
Yes.
be open. And the public has been great. They've been so supportive. And every once in a while I have to do a little bit of reminder, mask up, but pretty much people have been really, really good about it. We have not, knock on wood, really struggled, and we've not really had any confrontations in terms of people not wanting to be compliant. So.
Excellent.
Mhm.
And sort of related to that, let's talk now about board meetings.
Okay, so last but not least. So the Open Meetings Act allows for virtual board meetings through March 31st of 2021. After that date, virtual meetings are permitted due to emergency health orders. The Michigan Department of Health and Human Services has updated requirements on gatherings. And so I'm going to tell you a little bit about what they did in terms of the gatherings, and then I can kind of give you what your options are, and you can kind of weigh out your options and decide what you want to do. So the Library of Michigan provided us with a sort of a nutshell version. So the order that is in effect is the one that was put in place announced on March 2nd, and it went into effect on March 5th, and it's in effect until April 19th. So the new order says in terms of gatherings that non-residential gatherings are limited to 25 people, and there is no household limitation. It used to be 10 people from no more than 2 households, and now it's the limit is 25, and there are no household limitations. And then non-residential gatherings that are outdoor are limited to 300. So the question that's been coming up again and again is, does this mean my library can have in-person public meetings again? And the Library of Michigan's response is, it depends. The limitation is a total of 25 people with social distancing and masking required. This means that in order to have a public meeting with 25 people, the venue would have to be large enough to accommodate 25 attendees, including the board and the director and everyone else involved in the meeting, sitting or standing 6 feet apart from each other. A meeting can only accommodate as many people as can fit in the room with social distancing, up to 25 people. So if a library decides to have an in-person board meeting, a library will have to make a determination on what they will do if a member of the public shows up to attend and cannot be admitted because there is no more space. And being denied entrance to the public meeting is generally a violation of the Open Meetings Act. This will be a consideration that will be especially important to libraries with smaller meeting venues or libraries that have experienced a high level of participation from the public. A library can have a hybrid meeting where, for example, the board attends in person, but the public attends virtually. However, technology for these meetings must be carefully placed so that the public can see, hear, be seen, and they must be heard two-way communication with the board, and the public must also be able to identify which board member is speaking and how the board member votes. So in sum, while this new MDHHS order does open the door to possible in-person public meetings, individual libraries will have to determine the meeting format that is legally the best option for their situation, taking into account the risks and the requirements of each option. So just from there, I talked to Bill about the hybrid meetings. We did do one hybrid meeting and we had a really hard time with the sound. So it would be my recommendation that we not try to jump into another hybrid meeting just because we've struggled with those. So I would say you either want to try to meet in person or continue to meet virtually. We can make a case for either way. That meeting room is not really big. So what you would need to do, we currently have a limitation in that room of 16. And so we have 7 people on the board, plus myself is 8, plus Nicole to take notes is 9, plus the person who does the recording is 10. So then you could have up to 6 attendees, which we usually have somebody from the Friends, and occasionally somebody from the public. We don't usually, so occasionally we have some staff that will attend to do a presentation. So I guess what you'll need to determine is if you feel if 6 is enough space for that.
Now, the governor's order is in place through April 19th, and our next meeting would be April 12th. in
Yep.
case we wanted to do one more virtual meeting.
And then you can take into consideration the level of comfort of each of the board members as well. I haven't had a chance to talk to everybody, so.
Well, this library is of the size that we can do either one, can't we?
Mhm.
I mean, we
I
don't,
think you could,
we don't have to open up after the 19th. We don't have to have in-person meetings after the 19th, do we?
No, we don't
Well-
have to, right, no.
Yeah.
I mean, based on what Julie said, we can say that we're not quite comfortable with the meeting room being big enough to accommodate the required number of people.
Well, and the longer you put it off, the more people will be vaccinated too. You know, if you hold off till.
Right, which
People
from my
may-
point of view, you know, I
Yeah.
will be vaccinated. I'm getting my second one tomorrow, yay. But I still have not had a conversation with my physician about, because I have been told that I should not expect to have full benefit of the vaccine because of my condition. So I have not had a conversation. I was waiting until after I got the second vaccine, and then I want to find out what can I and can't I do. I think that a board meeting where we're all sitting far enough apart, I'm pretty sure she will say that that's okay. But I haven't had the conversation with her yet, so.
How many of us still need to get vaccinations?
I have to get
I do.
one
Yeah.
more
I
shot.
gotta get my second. I've got my first. I haven't had my
I
second.
have to get a second shot.
Just doing well.
Okay. So most of us have had one.
Good.
The question is, will we have had a second one plus a 2-week period by April 19th?
No, I wouldn't.
No, it's pretty.
Because if that's the consideration, I think that I would recommend that we have a virtual meeting. on
Right,
the
I do too.
12th. And at
Okay.
that time, let's see what the restrictions seem to be. Since the moment the COVID rate is going up in Michigan,
Mm.
we were down
Yes.
there at 3 point something, and now we have
Yeah.
ratcheted it up.
Mhm.
So my recommendation would be that we hold a virtual meeting on the 12th, assess how the state is doing at that time and how we are doing in terms of our 2 weeks past our second shots.
Right.
And there haven't been any complaints from the public that I know of, right? So, I mean, this seems to be working very well. You'll notice I'm always on time for these meetings. Just saying.
Well, and I agree. I don't think that because it is available to the public if they wish to attend, and we don't normally have huge public attendance, which is, I think, kind of a good sign that we're doing a good job, because people tend to want to come to a public meeting when they have something to complain about. If they're happy, they don't.
Seems like we're sort of right on the fence here a bit, so why don't we do the virtual and then
Do one more virtual and then
look forward
reassess.
to not doing it the next time, probably. Yeah.
So
Unless
one more-
something drastic happens to the numbers, so.
Good.
So hold our next,
I'm comfortable with at least one more virtual and then just reassess it again at the next
Yeah.
meeting.
Yeah,
Do we need a motion for that?
I make a motion that we have a virtual meeting and then open to the possibilities of having a full person meeting after that. We'll discuss it.
I will second that.
Okay, so Anne has made the motion to have our next meeting virtual and then reassess. And it has been seconded by Ms. Kiesling,
And
McFadden Kiesling. All right. Any other questions or comments about?
or whoever.
All right, Julie, let's call the roll.
Dan Gaffney,
Yes.
Dan Green,
Yes,
Allison McFadden Kiesling,
Yes.
Nancy Moon,
Yes.
Marilyn Pomeroy,
Yes.
Ann Rose,
Yes,
Chris Schell.
Yes.
Would
Okay.
you like between now and then for Mr. Bowman and I to have a conversation about the feasibility of making that May meeting a hybrid?
Hmm.
Yeah, I was wondering if you were going to, you know, allow the public to call in, if it would help if they were on the big screen in there, so that,
We
It-
used it on the big screen the last time. The part that we were having trouble with was the sound, getting the
Yes.
two-way sound to be.
yeah,
So basically, I figure by May, enough libraries will have tried hybrid meetings that we have more. We have a
More-
couple of options that,
Oh,
like the
yeah.
Canton Public Library has a hybrid option, but it would require everyone to be a little more tech savvy than I think we would feel most comfortable with. It has to do with having everybody having a laptop who's in person, and it's still a meeting, but you have to mute and unmute yourself or you get feedback.
oh, yeah,
So that's not a real great option for us.
no, that's not a real great option.
But as I said, as more municipalities and libraries start to do hybrid, new suggestions will come forth. And so I'm thinking maybe by April meeting, we'll be able to say, hey, a bunch of libraries tried this and this worked and this didn't, and we think maybe we could do it.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay.
A reassessment in May, I mean, a reassessment in April as to where we stand
Yep.
Right.
going forward.
As part of that conversation, I will bring you some options for a hybrid meeting in case we have some people who would feel more comfortable remaining virtual and others could be in person.
That sounds
Okay.
great.
Okay.
Excellent. So that has passed. We have direction for Bill and Julie about that. And that means we're ready for a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second,
Dan has made the motion. Who made the second? Allison. Okay. All those in favor, please say aye when your name is called.
you got it.
Jan Gaffney,
Yes.
Dan Green,
Yes.
Allison McFadden Kiesling,
Yes.
Nancy Moon,
Yes.
Marilyn Pomeroy,
Yes.
Ann Rose,
Yes.
and Chris Schell.
Yes.
Motion has passed, and you can tell I'll be happy when we're in person.
You're doing great. You're doing great,
You're,
Marilyn.
yes, you're doing a great job.
Really.
I just will be happy.